Hello, Virgo, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of January 18th through the 24th. During that time, we do have a new moon that comes in on the 19th, and that is a time for a fresh start, new beginnings, a time to start a new skill or any new work, either inner or outer, whatever you've been wanting to work on. Good time to get that started or even make new decisions. We then have the waxing crescent moon, of course, that comes in for the rest of the week. And that's a time of heightened senses, a good time when you're just kind of clear headed and ready to execute those things that we've just started, just kind of to live up to your expectations and your intentions. So keep those moon energies in mind, of course, as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Virgo. So, as always, please take what resonates today and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is a time to give rather than take. And it is the new moon in Virgo card, which is interesting since you are a Virgo and we're talking about the new moon right now. So even though I'm not sure if the new moon is in Virgo, so you astrology folks may want to leave me a note on where is our new moon, in which sign. I am a student of astrology, but don't make claims to keep so on top of it that I would know that information yet. I'm trying to get to where I can, but it's a lot to learn. All right, let's get into this reading. My fun weekly reminder this week is that you learned something new this week during this new moon and the waxing crescent time. So pick a topic that you've never, or something that you've had some interest in, but you've just never done a deep dive on it. And go ahead and do that deep dive. Give yourself a couple of hours this week, while it's kind of dark and quiet out, and read a book or listen to a lecture, but take notes and study and really just take time to think and really absorb the thing that you're learning. So that is my fun weekly reminder for you. I will try to do that for myself as well. All right, let's get right into this reading. We've got cards flying out already for Virgo, January 18th through the 24th. And your present energy, the card that came out first here, is the Strength card. So whatever's going on, you're feeling very strong of mind and body right now. And maybe that's great. That's a good energy to go through to start new things, is when you're feeling strong. You're feeling kind of down and weak. That's harder to do. But if you're feeling strong and like, yes, I can do this, whatever this new thing that you're trying to conquer, you're ready to go. So let's get going on it, right? Your current situation is the Hangman. So you're also entering into this week here with a new perspective. Maybe that's what's making you feel stronger, something that you've just learned, something that's been uncovered, some truth that has come to you, but it's kind of like it's giving you a new perspective on it, on whatever. Again, this is a time to give rather than take. So you're taking this information and doing something with it, probably good for people around you, right? There's something going on where you're kind of in giving mode. You're strong enough. You've got this new perspective, just in a good energy for that. At the root of your situation is the Ace of Wands. So, this is some new passion, some new thing, again, new perspective that you're taking on, and you're taking it and running with it, obviously, with these cards that are coming out. It's something that you're really taking to heart, whatever you have learned recently, and kind of take the time to think back through your path or your past. What is it? What is this new perspective? And where did it come from? Where did it originate? And sometimes just kind of clarifying all of that for yourself makes these readings, just mean a little bit more. Like, take the time to think about, do I have a new perspective on something? And I would imagine something does come to mind. Is it making me stronger? And in what manner? In your recent past here, Virgo, we've got the Two of Pentacles. So, your recent past was about you kind of juggling things, trying to keep everything in the air. It looks like you got through that period and maybe you're feeling stronger because of that. Like, you look back on your past and think, wow, look at that. I just got through that. That was a lot, trying to keep everything going, while something was going on or some change was coming about. But it gives you a new perspective, like, and pat yourself on the back, like, hey, I'm strong enough to get through that. Like when you have a big challenge, I always think about this this occurred to me, just having children, just childbirth, each time I was like, I am amazing. I can do anything. And I'm not saying that your challenge was that big, but just feeling that sense of accomplishment of something, it's like a boost. It's a boost that you're like, I'm invincible. I can do anything. Especially with childbirth made me feel like that I was like, if I can do that, psh, look out world, right? I can do anything. But again, what is that new perspective to you? Sorry, I'm making myself laugh here. What is that new perspective for you, and what is it? Are you feeling stronger because of something? And and it may seem funny, and even now I think about that in memory, but I do just remember feeling so empowered. And what has happened for you recently where you just felt like, I can't believe I accomplished that. I did this thing, and you just feel so empowered and so strong. What is on your mind? I will get off this topic, I swear, Virgo. What is on your mind this week? Is the Page of Pentacles. So some new path in the way of material things. So, you're coming out of this juggling, but look at you. Now you've got a new path. And maybe you learn something back here where you're like, wow, I had to juggle that because of this thing. I was doing it this way. But now that I've learned that, I'm going to change how I do that. This makes me think, especially if it's material things that I think about. I always laugh because I've always wanted to have most of my life on like auto pay, right? So, which wasn't always the way to do things with, I was a stay-at-home mom, and 4 kids, it wasn't easy to be like, well, I may need that money that particular day for a certain thing. I did so, and so it was just hard to kind of do that. But as I've gone through life, I found that gets a little easier. Like, oh, put this thing on auto pay, out of sight, out of mind. I'm barely thinking about it. I have to kind of observe that, so it's kind of making those little changes that, like, I don't have to juggle that thing or think about it because it's just on auto pay, and there I go. That's probably easier for younger people to do. That's not something, in my day, we sat down, there's your money, sit down with your checkbook. This is dating me, really. Sit down, pay all of your bills. And that's a feeling. That's something you did every month, so having things just kind of taken care of quietly is different for our generation, and weirder to trust also. I don't know why I started talking about that, but you're going to take some sort of new path in that way. This could be a new path in maybe how you manage things, or um, just how you take care of that sort of thing. It's on your mind anyway. What is just ahead of you this week is the Queen of Pentacles. So yeah, I mean, you have a thing where you're juggling, you make a decision to change how you do it. You have this new perspective. You're strong enough to do it. And now look at you, the Queen of Pentacles, sitting there like, well, look at me. I accomplished this thing. I'm doing this thing in a new way. And it does make you feel like, oh, I've got a better understanding of how that works. This is that, just the understanding um, how things work, and you're doing things in just a very graceful, feminine. This is that feminine energy of really being in control of your material world, your money, that sort of thing, everything around you. So that's awesome. That leads you to that. What is in your advice position this week is to also be the King of Wands and have that energy, which is about, the knowledge of the things that drive your passion, and if you're able to manage something and make a change, um, of course you get to, that's almost like a bank account. If you think about, like, you know, we all have a certain amount of time and energy to spend every day. Are you going to spend more of it trying to manage these coins and these pentacles? Or if you let something, again, like I used auto pay as an example, if you let that go onto that, does that open up more time for your passions and the things that you really enjoy doing? Probably. So the more of your life that you can get, the things that are kind of just a routine that you have to do, when you get that into a routine, it just opens up your thoughts and your creativity and your ideas for things that are actually more fun and more rewarding. All right. What is beyond your control this week is the Fool card. So a new journey here for you. Hanged Man and Fool card, I see those as new perspective does lead to new journeys. When you learn a new way of doing things, and just again, this new path with Pentacles, it just opens you up, and you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Let me move on this way, So some sort of new journey for you based on this new perspective also. What is your secret desire, and what are you trying to avoid is the Nine of Wands. And so is it your secret desire to kind of look back, and maybe you should. It might be a good time to evaluate and go, okay, if I was able to make this one little change in, some way of managing my life, of course I'm using auto pay and money but this could be maybe maybe there's something that you've in your material, like maybe in your house, maybe you hired someone to clean, and it's just freeing up your time, and this is a new path for you. You just feel more free. Maybe you have gotten rid of something that you did have to maintain and clean and take care of, and you're like, I'm not doing that anymore. It's taking up too much time and energy. So you find a new way to manage that. But it kind of leads to, when you have these changes, especially in one area, it does lead us to look back and go, well, wait, let me evaluate other areas of my life too. There's a series of books that I've always read called Simplify Your Life. And then I think she ended up writing 3 books. So I've got like it's like the simplicity, all 3 of the books put together. And I love those books. And I would go from time to time. I've had these books for years, and go through and just read, like, am I doing this thing? Am I keeping certain things in my life simple? Only because it just opens up, again, time for more fun, more passion things, more just more freedom to do things if you keep the real basic stuff of life that we're doing so simple. Some people can complicate that so that you're spending way too much time doing it, right? So if you make one change, it might lead you to evaluate other changes that you can do also when it comes to that. I hope that made sense. In your outcome position, Virgo, is the Queen of Wands. So, you know, both the male and female energy of the passion. This is understanding and knowledge. So you're learning, but you're also understanding how it works. And not only for yourself, but also the people around you. And this is where, a time to give rather than take. This is where you get to be kind of in that advisory role. If there's people around you that are like, hey, how are you getting all these things? How is it that you're able to live out this passion thing that you love to do? How are you able to give that so much time? And if you're in that advice realm, you're like, well, I did this thing and I simplified my life a little bit more to open up more time, more not only more physical time, but more of my mind power, right? My brain power that's going towards this thing that I really love. So and that could be where you do give rather than take, that you're giving that information to someone else, or you're being the example for them also. What is hidden from you this week, Virgo, is the Devil card. The best place to keep that card right there. False truths and insecurities, that's not you this week. You're very confident. Got this new perspective. You're very strong. You don't have the devil in your ear at all this week, which is the best place for him to be. I think is hidden. I like it when he's there. We don't have to deal with any of those false insecurities this week. All right, Virgo, let's get a final word here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message for Virgo as they make some changes with this new perspective. I really like the layout of this reading and everything that it represents this week. This is good advice for everyone, really, not just you, Virgo. You're reading this week. All right, final message here from the Soul Oracle deck for you, Virgo, is to shine your light. And again, maybe that's what this time to give rather than receive means. Because if you're shining your light and your strength, and you've got, this new path, other people are going to recognize that and want to know, how are you doing that, and share that information. Don't keep that information to yourself. Someone else may need to know it. So, all right, let's see what you need to do in the way of self-care this week, Virgo. Self-care for Virgo this week, and the card that you get, I've seen this card already once, I can't remember who had it, but the card called Power. The ability to suck it up is not a superpower. Saying no is. Own your power. So what is it that you need to say no to this week? And that's a superpower. And it could be, again, the old way. You're saying, no, I'm not going to do it that way anymore. I'm going to change how I do this. It may take, again, it's a new moon. It may take some time to get used to, maybe a week or 2 or 3, or maybe even a couple of cycles to get used to a new way of doing things. But, we all make those small incremental changes to just make ourselves and our life better every month, every cycle. We get a chance to do that. So, Virgo, thank you so much for being here this week. I do hope there was something you can take away and use in this reading in a positive way in your life. If you're comfortable sharing, of course, drop me a comment down below and let me know if any of this is resonating with you, or if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those also. And if you like my reading style, hitting that like and subscribe button really is the best way to pay me back. I appreciate that so much. It just helps push me out in the algorithm a little bit, and I appreciate that. But also, more importantly, Virgo, it'll help you find me next week, where you are welcome to come back and see if this energy continues or if there's something completely new here for you. So, thanks so much. You have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.